Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today is day 15 of 25 days of Christmas, and for this one we are going to take a break from Christmas content so I can give you my full thoughts on season 1 of IT Welcome to Derry. So in order to really get into this season, I am going to be doing some talking about spoilers in here. So if you have not watched the entire season of Welcome to Derry so far, you need to go ahead and do that first and then just watch this later. So in preparation for this video, I did rewatch the video that I did for the first 4 episodes that we had gotten, and some of it definitely didn't age too well, and I guess more particularly about my feelings on some of the characters in here. So first off, I definitely want to talk about Francis Shaw. And I was right initially that he was just one of those bad authority figures that we see in Stephen King works, and more specifically in the world of IT in general. I was kind of swindled by the fact that he had a backstory of when he was a child and he had his own run-in with IT, but I should have just stuck with my gut that he was a bad guy all along. And I think maybe in episode 5 it was that they said that they were trying to find all of the pillars so they could control Pennywise. And I guess I kind of took that as they were trying to control him and subdue him. However, we see in episode 7 that that is not the case at all, and that they are trying to get those pillars so they can destroy them and be able to use Pennywise to control Americans. It's definitely like the kind of fear-mongering stuff that we have seen countless times throughout our own history. So, honestly, I should have just known that after what he did to Samantha in Sex and the City, that I should not trust him here either. So the next one that I want to talk about that I didn't talk about in my previous video at all is actually Ingrid Kirsch. And I believe it wasn't in the halfway point that they even had said what her name really was. But I was very skeptical of her throughout this season, and once I knew that her last name was Kirsch, that just solidified it for me, as she was clearly the woman that Beverly had a run-in with in IT Chapter 2. So she is definitely a delusional character. I don't really understand how she thought that there was anything left of her father in Pennywise at all. It just is baffling to me, seeing him do the terrible things that he does. Even if she didn't know right away, she should have when there was that incident in the 30s in Juniper Hill, where it's just him and her and that little girl. I will say that that segment is done really well. I liked it being mostly black and white in there. That was really cool. But I feel like at that point she should have known that that is in no way her father anymore. But she was just completely delusional in that. And she is very much responsible for the deaths of so many people. And, you know, she can't be forgiven for that stuff. So one thing that I really did like about this second half of Welcome to Derry would be the fact that we got more out of the rest of the New Losers Club that we really hadn't gotten a whole lot of development for prior to that, because in the first half of this, we really only got a lot with Lily and Ronnie, but then we got, my son is just making noises, it's funny. So we got more with the rest of them in this later half. And I want to start with Will. So he was definitely the most well-behaved out of the group and cared more about what his parents thought. I mean, with his dad being a military man, he has more of like an authoritative kind of presence and stuff with him. So I think he definitely cared about what his father thought of him. But it was really in finding all of the rest of the New Losers Club that it just made him realize how important his friends were and how they were worth fighting for. And I just liked to see that for his character. Then the next one that I want to talk about is Marge. So I did not like her for a good portion of this season. because of the fact that she was very much more caring about popularity and furthering herself in that regard than just being friends with Lily. She was ditching her for the other girls, as well as she was even going to pull a very mean prank on her. But she did see toward the end of the fourth episode that that was not something that she could really do to someone who she cared about. And she was going to stop everything, but then Pennywise got to her and it caused her to harm her own eye, which was one of the more gross things in this season, I think. I just don't like stuff with eyes, but it was really a turning point for her. So even though it's horrifying and stuff, I'm glad that it did happen so she could have the redemption that she needed to have. And I think that it just made her very vulnerable after she got that injury, and it made her see who cared about her more, and she wanted to be friends with Lily again, and she became part of the new Losers Club, and they all really welcomed her, and most specifically, Rich definitely did welcome her. It was very obvious early on in the show that he seemed to be head over heels for her, and it was just really cute. Um, then she does have an incident where she is at the lunch table with him, and the group of popular girls come by and they want her to come over and sit with them. And I'm just like, oh, is she going to make the right choice? And thankfully she does, and she stays with Rich, and their bond grows even further there. And they even kind of talk about like a little date accidentally, but they clearly both are interested in that, when they're a little bit older and ready for that kind of thing. But I just liked to see her have that redemption arc that she really needed to have. So we have to talk about Rich now. He is more of the goofy one out of the new Losers Club, which is very fitting after Richie Tozier from It Chapters 1 and 2. And more on that in a little bit. So he definitely seemed like he just wanted to try to fit in. It seemed like he had trouble doing that with other people, and that could be with his ethnicity being different than, the majority of the people in Derry. I'm sure that that was hard, especially in that day and age. And there were times that he did things that the Losers Club weren't happy about, like when they were trying to do everything in the cemetery, and he kind of led them to believe he knew what he was talking about, but he really didn't. But luckily, they still wanted to be his friend, and he really came into his own in the group. And he just, like I said earlier, just welcomed Marge into the group very much. And, when she was self-conscious about her eye, he was just very interested and intrigued about it and didn't make her feel like it was gross or anything because he thought it was really cool. And he ended up really getting his chance to shine in episode 7 when all of the kids are at the black spot apart from Lily. However, he got that chance to shine, unfortunately, in 2 different ways. So we have him get to play drums with the band at the black spot, and he's really good at it. And we also just get this cute little scene where Marge kind of looks at him the same way that he looks at her. That might be at the end of episode 6, I can't remember, but it was just a really cute moment when you get to see that, since he had his own little moment like that earlier on in the show. But then, obviously, we have the black spot fire that breaks out, and Marge and Rich are not able to escape the fire. So he finds that box and gets her to get inside of it and shuts her in there so she is protected from it. And, he kisses that box, and he just breaks all of our hearts when he does that, I think. And he just continues to talk to her until he ends up succumbing to um, the fumes and stuff. And I've been seeing so many things online about how, Pennywise didn't eat him because he wasn't afraid. And I really like that. It makes me feel a little better, but barely. He definitely died a true knight. But the last character that I really want to talk about would be Pennywise, of course. So he made his grand appearance in episode 5, and he looked amazing. I think that he went to the beauty salon prior to that and just asked them to make him look like the Eater of Worlds, and they obliged because his hair looked incredible. I don't know if I was the only one that thought that, but yeah, it just looked amazing for some reason. I think it just maybe looked more crazy in it chapters 1 and 2, and it just looked so good for some reason and extra red. But I don't know, that was just a silly thing I looked at, I guess, on there. But I think that Bill Skarsgård did such a good job throughout this season. He really brought everything to this role again, as he always will, I'm sure. And I liked getting to see him down in the cistern again. I thought that that sequence was really good. Like I said, I liked the part that was a flashback to the 30s in Juniper Hill. I thought that one was very creepy. And just everything in episode 7 with the black spot was so, so good. And the deaths in there that were prior to the fire were good. And then everything with the fire, like the flames looked incredible. And then when Pennywise actually comes in and starts feeding off of all of that fear, we get so many good things. We get a quote, I can't remember exactly what it was, but something to the effect of, "Oh, do I have face on my face?" And it was just so creepy and awesome. That was a great one. And then he just gets a lot of good, really gory kills and stuff in that episode. And it was just really awesome to see him really bring his A game to that one. And then seeing him in his den for hibernation, that is the stuff of nightmares. That was so terrifying. Um, I will say there wasn't a lot of fear in my mind for Will when he gets taken at the end of episode 7, just because obviously he is Mike's father, so he is going to, live through that season. I felt really the same way with Leroy. I was not really ever worried about his safety because I knew he was in it chapter 1, and the same for Dick Halloran. I was never really worried about him. So the stuff that we get in episode 8, where it seems like he might just take himself out, that didn't obviously worry me because he has a big part to play in The Shining, so he was going to live through that. But I think that episode 8 was really incredible. I liked everything that we got in there. Seeing him use the deadlights on all of those kids in the school, that was super cool. And, just seeing that mist and the snow coming in and stuff, that was really cool. I liked them being on the frozen river. I just enjoy all that, especially with it being wintertime. And I loved that episode was called Winter Fire, just with it being such a good reference to Ben's postcard. But I just thought that everything with the dagger was really interesting. It very much felt like a Horcrux from Harry Potter, since it was kind of affecting the kids when they would hold on to it. It was definitely messing with Lily so much, and then they had to say that they were going to just share it when they were taking it where they needed to and stuff. I'm like, yeah, this is very much like Deathly Hallows Part 1. But yeah, I enjoyed that little bit of Harry Potter stuff there. And then I really liked just the final confrontation with Pennywise. I thought that it was very awesome to see Rich again. I wasn't really expecting that. but it was welcomed for sure. Also, the huge reveal of Marge being Richie's mom, and then thinking about the fact that she obviously named him Richie after Rich. It was just a gut punch. I was definitely crying during that. I cried a lot in this episode for sure, and the one before it, but um, that one, yeah, that one got to me for sure. And just the best part for me was Rich's funeral. I was not prepared for that either. I didn't see that coming, but Marge's speech, it was taken from the book. It is the best quote from the whole book, the part about people building their houses in your heart. It, I just, I lost it at that part because that was just obviously the standout for the whole book for me when I read it. So that was cool that they incorporated that in. So overall, I just have to say that I think It Welcome to Derry season one was incredible and well worth the wait. I know it did take quite a while to finally get there, but I was so happy with it. And I'm really excited to see where they go from here. And I don't know if you guys were watching the little special features that they put at the end of all the different episodes of this show, but I was. And I don't know if it was the one for episode 7 for the black spot, but I know that they had said that they knew that the black spot was going to be like the main event for this first season, and then they kind of just built everything else around that. So I think that that is the way that they are going to handle seasons 2 and 3. And I think it's supposed to be that season 2 is going to deal with the Bradley Gang massacre, and then season 3 will be the Kitchener Ironworks explosion. And when I read the book, I definitely enjoyed the stuff with the black spot the most, but the Bradley Gang thing was really cool as well. So I think that will be interesting to see. And the explosion for the ironworks, that's going to be crazy as well, I'm sure. But I'm ready to see all of that. I also want to see some of the deaths and just the different scenes with Pennywise that we get in the book. There are so many really, really good ones that haven't gotten used yet, and they might have to take liberties with it a little bit. For instance, the death that Patrick Hockstetter gets in the book is so creepy and terrifying. But obviously, he dies in the events of it, chapter 1, so it can't be him that gets that death, but it would be kind of cool to see someone get it. Although it's got to be someone terrible because Patrick was just absolutely terrible in the book. So I wouldn't want to see the death that he has in the book go to someone that didn't deserve it. Because it's really, really bad. But it would be interesting to actually see that in one of the adaptations, And then there were lots of other ones in the book that I thought were super awesome sequences, and I would love to see them, get to be adapted as well. So that's some of the stuff that I want to see going forward in this show, and just other references to maybe some of the other Losers Club members that we haven't gotten any references for yet, or references to even other Stephen King stuff. I really liked at the end where, we're catching up with Dick Halloran, and he's talking about going to a hotel, and he's like, how bad can a hotel be, or something like that. I'm like, oh, pretty bad. It's not going to be good. But I liked that reference, obviously. And I think someone online said there was some other reference to a different Stephen King thing that I hadn't read or seen the movie for, so I can't attest to that, but I do like that they're throwing in all these little things. And I really like that they're also putting in some similar lines to what we had gotten in It Chapters 1 and 2. So any of that stuff I really want to see going forward as well. But I want to know your thoughts on It Welcome to Derry Season 1 down in the comments. Did you like it, or were you disappointed in it in any way? I just want to know all of that down below, and you can leave me all those comments. I'd love to have discussions about that. if you enjoyed this video, leave a like on it. It really does help. And consider subscribing if you haven't yet. I see a lot of the people that are watching my stuff, they're not subscribing yet, but if you are coming back and watching it multiple times and stuff, different videos, then you should definitely subscribe. And I do post at least 2 new videos each week. You can follow me on Instagram for updates on my channel, as well as additional horror content. You can follow me on Letterboxd to see what I have been watching lately and my brief thoughts on any of those films. And if you want either of those, they are linked in my channel description for easy access for you guys. I want to say thank you to everyone who has been supporting my channel. It doesn't go unnoticed. My name is Devin. This is Carpenter Hill. Thanks for watching.